Hey everyone, welcome back to the Coach's Corner here on the NAIA Volley Reports, powered by Win One. I'm your host, Daniel Mesquita. Today we're joined by head coach Josh Kreiner of the Lindsey Wilson University Blue Raiders. Coach, thanks for joining me today. How are things out there in Kentucky?
Yeah, it's kind of warm for this time of year for me. I'm used to a little bit colder, so it's been nice. Coming from up north, it's nice. But yeah, just back on campus here, and so excited to get moving for the spring here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, spring season's on the way, and then fall's right after that, and we can't wait for another volleyball season. Feels like it was just here yesterday, and before you know it, it'll be here tomorrow. Um, but before we talk about your past, we will jump into your last season. Last season was your first year at Lindsey Wilson at the helm. You guys had another strong season. You guys almost hit 30 wins. You guys finished 29 and 11, 9 and 3 in a competitive and deep Mid-South Conference. Just to name a couple accomplishments for you guys had a pair of All-Americans. You had several All-Conference nods, a national tournament berth. When you look back at your first season for the Blue Raiders, what are some moments and memories that stick out to you the most?
Yeah, I mean, just I was very blessed this year to have the amount of success that we had. Our kids, getting the recognition I think that they deserved. I think we had five all conference players too, so that was five or six all conference players. So to me, it's about getting the players the recognition that they deserve and what they do day in and day out. So it was a lot of fun. Kind of some of the moments that really are big for us. We had a couple injuries midway through the year, and one of our first games back, we got a huge reverse sweep within the conference, and it was a real turning point, I think, for the full program buy-in. We're down at University or Cumberland University in Tennessee, and go down 0-2, and we made a couple of adjustments, and it was hey guys, trust us, we've got this. Like, yeah, I understand we're down 0-2, and there was a little odd sense of calm throughout that match, and coming back and figuring it out, and then maybe being able to get there, get back. I think we went like 15-11. We had a couple of kids that were stepping up in some weird spots, and um, we had a freshman who's from that area in Tennessee step up. Brooke Robinson had a ton of kills in that match, and I think that really defined kind of our season, and being able to adjust it on the fly and being able to think, outthink some teams, and make some adjustments while we do that. Um, you know, Kind of non-volleyball related, just kind of the fellowship and the kind of the sisterhood that our group had throughout the year was huge. I think it really has a lot to say with the type of kids that we brought in, and the kids that are on campus with us now, and so just to be able to see that and that growth, and kind of that buy-in from each other. I think it was kind of a constant thing. It wasn't necessarily one or two moments, but it was kind of a constant thing of everybody really having, a lot of those little moments with people, the little, the little inside jokes that everybody's got with everybody, because it's a volleyball thing. And, when you hear somebody say a word that brings that up in public, your ears perk up, and like, oh, that's funny. And you can kind of chuckle to yourself. Um, so yeah, it's pretty cool. We got also, I think we got a couple of kids there, some pretty big milestones this year. Ola Vishakovska, one of our All-Americans, she got 1,000 digs and 1,000 kills this year. Luisa Gonzalez got her 3,000 assists this year. And then, Momo Hampton, our libero, got her 1,000 dig. And so being able to kind of have those moments and celebrate those moments for our kids, I think is huge.
Another moment I want to bring up, I know we just talked about all of the good, but all seasons come to an end, and you guys in opening rounds ran into a tough Aquinas. Aquinas has been on a hot streak conference wise. I don't think they've lost a match in, I think, 2 going on 3 years. I could be wrong, but looking at that, what specifically are you planning to take from that match and bring it into this next
Yeah,
season?
yeah, I know Aquinas really well.
Yeah,
I think was something that was being in a conference for the last 5 years, and being a couple of those losses last year when they went undefeated in
yeah,
conference play. Just kind of knowing to them. It was that trip was it was again, I use the word oddly calm. We were very prepared. I think out of anybody in the any team in the country to go play them, we were the most prepared. Were we the best equipped? Probably not. We still had some injuries that were a couple kids that were playing that weren't 100%. We had two of our kids that had come on late that were dealing with an ankle and a shoulder, and so kind of going into that. But I mean, I think going into that point of the year and into that match. We gave them everything we had. I don't think we had anybody who entered the court for us left anything out there. We got a lot of production from some kids that the freshmen again that had to figure it out and weren't meant to be relied on this year, but got relied on because of injuries. And our two All-Americans, they did everything they could to get us that win. And obviously we come up short, and so um, some of the lessons I think that we have to learn is our serve and pass game has to be better. But then also too, I think we talk about buy-in and we talk about culture, and I think moving forward, I think that our players who are younger and will be with us for the next couple of years, I think they really saw the value in that. That's something that I'm huge on culture, and we talk about us as humans first, right? You can't be who we need you to be without you being who you need you to be. And so I think a lot of being able to get into that match, I think our players and our staff and our support staff and our kids and our families all would agree that you have to be you first. And so I think a lot of our kids at the end of the year when we saw the other teams struggle throughout, whether it be in the conference tournament, the national tournament, and even us, when you're trying to be something you're not, it doesn't normally go very well. And so, um, we did everything that we were, and at the end of the day, we can hang our hat on that we were, who we were meant to be, and we're not trying to be somebody else or somebody different in that aspect. And it sucks when it comes up short, but when you give it your best and give it your all, that's what we do as competitors. Is that's all we want. Is we want to be judged on our best actions, and so that's where I think we were. Um, so yeah.
Think that's all you can ask from your girls, given that everything that they have. Enough of the bad. Let's jump into the good, coach. You had some steady process throughout the year. I know you mentioned you had some injuries, but you also had some big wins on the year. You guys beat Missouri Baptist. They were top 10 in the country. You also beat them in St. Louis, which is tough to play in, on the road, away from home. It was a great game. You also topped Division 1, Mississippi Valley State. It's a big
Yeah.
win for the NAIA outlast in a Division 1 program. Just talks to your coaching ability, but also the girls on the court and their buy-in for that. From your perspective, where did you see this team grow the most over the season throughout the year?
Um, I think I'll speak to those wins first. I think Mobap is a heck of a team.
Yeah,
Coach Claire Osh does a great job over there. And to be able to show up in their place and
yeah.
um, early because we were supposed to play a try match that day, and some things happened with the third team that was outside of our control. But to play them at 10 in the morning, when we're they're college kids, and I don't like getting up early on a Saturday, let alone getting 20 college kids up on a Saturday. But they come in and kind of impose our will on them and kind of make them feel uncomfortable, and make them do what they don't want to do is just kind of what we did. And same with Mississippi Valley. They're a pretty good program. They've been really up on the upswing the last couple of years, but to kind of come in, and just kind of do what we do better, what we do, and it just ended up being better than them, on the day. So, I think, when it comes to our growth, throughout the season, um, we had a lot of volleyball players on the team, but we didn't have people who understood volleyball in the beginning of the season. And I think that it's tough when you think you know what you're doing, and you think it's going to work, and then it doesn't, and then it doesn't, and then so being able to teach the game, I think, is where we saw the most growth this year. Being able to teach, I don't want robots.
Hmm.
I want kids who can think for themselves. I want players who can be, players who can operate within themselves and who can go out there and do things. We turned into a very tactical team this year. I always say there's physical teams and the tactical teams. There's teams that are just going to go out there and try out physical you. There's teams that are going to go out and they're going to outthink you. They're going to outskill you. And that's where we wanted to be this year. And so I think it was an adjustment, especially for our returners. Louisa and Ola last year they were a very, very physical team. They were bigger than we were this year. The last year they had a couple of bigger swings. They were able to go and do some more physical things, but kind of changing that mindset, especially when two of those kids were pretty big leaders for them last year as too. Kind of changing their mindset and being like, hey, you know what? Yeah, we need to change how we think, and we need a tip here instead of a swing. We need a dump here instead of a set. We need to set the middle here instead of just setting the kid who's got the most kills on the team. And so that was, just kind of opening up those brains, especially with seniors, seniors and juniors that aren't used to that, seeing that growth. And I think freshmen are always pretty moldable. They're pretty like, oh, kind of bug-eyed sometimes and starry-eyed, don't know what's going on, and so they're able to be impressioned a little bit, and they can, oh, they don't know any better.
Yeah.
And so, especially for some of those older kids, to see them grow and to see them be like, oh yeah, and then at the end of the year when we're going over scouting reports and we're getting stuff ready for Aquinas. They're coming in and being like, hey, coach, have you thought of this? Have you thought of this? Have you thought of this? And you just sit at your desk and you're like, yeah, I did, but I love that you're getting it, and I haven't told you that yet. So yeah, so it's a lot of fun to be able to see that, and from different ways, and kind of make, kind of make those the make the wheels start turning.
Mhm. But growing that volleyball IQ is important. And I know you said you've spent a year and some change at Lindsey Wilson, but what did last year teach you, shaping you on how you will approach this upcoming season? I know you mentioned growing their volleyball IQ, but what other some other things that you plan to take and tackle for this new year?
Yeah, obviously, like we've got a recruit. We ended up not being deep enough in the right positions this year. We were really deep in others, but not in the right ones. Due to some injuries, we were super thin in the middle, and so not having some of those backups. So obviously going into next year, we're gonna be a little bit deeper in the middle. We're gonna have some more kids that can either play pin and middle, or we're just gonna have more middles on the roster. Um, I think that's a huge thing for us. But I think this year it taught me that there are people and there's a community here at Lindsey Wilson that supports volleyball that aren't affiliated with the program. It's not our parents. It's not, you know, our support staff. It's not, things like our families and our friends of our players. They're people from the community here, and that was something that was new to me. And so here having people that are excited about it and want to be a part of it. I think the biggest thing that I learned this year was I need to lean on those people a little bit more. Whether it be for help with whether it's just fundraising or just leaning on them to come to games, and making sure we invite them to games and make them feel welcome, and then also to having our players be more interactive with some of those people that are involved with our program that are from outside of our program. Um, I think kind of helping to continue to create kind of that sense of community is one of the big things that I learned. You know, um, you know, I I think I think what this year taught our returners for next year is that we can win, and we can be in a position to have a chance. We all just ask for a chance at the dance at the national title, for the national title, and get into the tournament, right? You got to get into the national tournament. You got to win one, and then you got to get into the pool play, win two, and then everything else it's a winner take all game from there. So, I think that's going to be huge in our. We've got a team meeting to kind of kick off spring when they get to school next weekend, and so we're gonna sit and chit chat and talk about what our goals are and what we want to do starting now, because I think the foundations for next year was laid this fall and will continue to be laid this spring. So.
Where you guys can only go up, and having that problem with the community, I think that's a good problem to have. You have a lot of support that's going to help you guys not only thrive on the court but on the support staff as well. It's going to just bring Lindsay volleyball just keep going more up. But let's talk about you as a coach, player development standpoint. What are some non-negotiables? I know every coach is different, but let's talk about you and what you see every day and what you expect from your athletes.
Yeah, something that we talked about earlier is just in general, just small, super small things is, um, you know, I don't want robots. I want kids that think for themselves. I want players that can, kind of have a give and take, can, try to to try to comprehend things and understand things, not just a oh yes coach, yeah, I'm going to do this. Well, why? What's the why behind it?
Mm,
Uh, I think everything we do has to have a why. Um, and so that's a huge one for me. I think every coach is going to say something about grit or something about dedication or something like that. I want good humans. That's the biggest non-negotiable for us. Is I want players who want to be here. I want players who want to respect competition. I want players who want to respect, everybody around us. Um, and because I think that is, if you respect competition, if you respect, you respect the game, you respect who you're playing with and who's on your team, that is, I think brings people together. And then if you don't do that, I think it tears people apart pretty quick.
yeah,
So I think having, being a good human, wanting things for not just yourself, but the people around you, is probably our biggest non-negotiable. When it comes to the volleyball standpoint of what we're going to do. Each position is a little different.
of course.
I like big setters. I like fast yeses. I like quick yeses. I think middles are kind of I just you need to be able to get the job done. Middle's kind of the one where I'm a little bit like, hey, yeah, I would love for you to be 6'4" and be able to move and do all that stuff, but at the end of the day, you're 6'4" and can move. You might not be playing at our level, or you might be, but and on the pins, I think you need that toolbox. You need to be able to want to develop that toolbox, and you need to have 3 or 4 shots involved. And um, I think yeah, when it comes to that, it's kind of those little decisions when it comes to those things.
Yeah, no doubt. We talked about non-negotiables, but let's talk about your athletes physically. What were some of the athletes or Blue Raiders that stuck out to you this year or grew up and that kind of shocked you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had a couple kids that we knew what we were going to get out of them. Ola and Louis, our top returners from last year. We knew what they were going to be. Even Petra Fernandez Garcia, our grad transfer outside. We knew what we were going to get out of her. She had a wonderful yeah, had a 5th year and came here and had a wonderful career before here. And so we knew kind of those were kind of our known things. Kind of the unknown. I'll speak. We had some freshmen kind of step up that were kind of came out of the woodworks. I think the biggest one probably is Layla Huyang. She's a little DS from Tennessee. We were recruiting somebody else on her team, her club team, and we kind of found her, and um, she just, I like to like talk about grit and grind, and I just liked how she played. She's quick, she's fast, she's got a really good platform, and she just grinds plays out. And she didn't play a lot on the club team. I'll be honest, like she didn't play a lot, but she was somebody who was always interactive on the bench, always interactive during timeouts, was very like involved in the game, and so we took a chance on her, and she other than she had a little injury about the middle third of the season, or the end of the first third of the season, but she would have started every game for us this year, if she was healthy the whole time. And she came kind of blazing out of the gates and just earned that spot. And so I think that was kind of one of the bigger kind of standouts and step up. I think the other big surprise for us was our libero Momo Hampton.
Yeah.
I brought her with me. She came with me from the last school. I had an idea we were gonna kind of move her to libero at the last school, but she had until our first match of the season this year, she had never libero before. She had never even touched the court playing libero. She had been a setter for since her like I think she was a middle her tens year, and then everybody else grew past her, and then she became a setter after that. And so she was somebody who just I mean she was an all conference player for us. I mean that's how surprising it was. Somebody kid who never played the position and then stepped up and became an all conference player. Um, it just kind of shows to her dedication to the sport and to competition and to her wanting to be the best she can be and kind of leading that group of DSs. Even though she was a only a junior and then had never played libero before, so um, those are I was gonna say those are probably the biggest two. We had some other freshmen step up and do some kind of some cool things. But the biggest one I think would be we've got a junior Natalie Wandry. She's a kid who is 100% Lindsey Wilson. She plays softball here. She's an all conference softball player.
What dual
Um,
sport?
and she had played kind of a swing position between some JV, some varsity the last couple of years with the last couple of coaches and kind of figuring some stuff out. And I mean, I was blown away by her. She played her role perfectly, but a kid who played mainly JV the last 2 years to come in and be I think she was our fourth or fifth leading kill leader this year. So she came in just as she's the probably one of the biggest arms I've ever seen in my entire life. But it's probably that softball stuff, being able to throw
Yeah,
the ball around. But she came in and I mean she's always has one of the best attitudes out of anybody on the team. She's all about Lindsey Wilson volleyball, Lindsey Wilson softball, just Lindsey as a whole. And so I was really proud to see her be able to get chances in big moments for us. I started out with little things. Again, so we talked about Mobap, us beat Mobap earlier. I mean, I think she hit 1,000, and she was with the NAIA being having one of the craziest rules ever and having unlimited subs. We had a rotation where we weren't passing well enough to get the middle of the ball, and it's like, all right, well, we'll sub her in. She'll hit a ball on the right side. She'll get a kill, and then, and then we'll rotate, and she'll rotate into the back row. And that match we did that seven or eight times, and I think she got 7 or 8 kills, and so and then she ended up being able to step up in that tournament final match to get us some kills there too. So it was she probably was the biggest surprise, just kind of going from that JV spot to kind of the varsity role player. Within 3 months was huge.
for sure, coach. A lot of shock and awe, and I can't wait for not only the incoming freshmen, some transfers you might have, and then just putting it all together going into your second year now that you have a year under your belt.
Yeah.
But when the Blue Raiders are playing together and everything is going good and dandy, what does that look like for you? What is your vision when it's all coming together?
Yeah, um I like being the tactical team. I like being able to outthink other people and other players and other coaches. And so I think it all starts with a certain pass game. We have to pass, you have to serve tough, and you have to pass well. I think we saw that throughout the NAIA national tournament and then even the NCAA national tournament. The
Yep,
teams that serve you kind of if you're not serving or passing well, you better be serving tough. Just to kind of even that playing field and kind of make some things happen. I something that our kids had to adjust to this year is I love tempo. We run super fast to the pin, and I think it buys our kids 3 or 4 kills a set. And just by going out to the 3 or 4 kills without having to take 4 or 5, or 8 or 9 extra swings every set helps. And so I really really enjoy that. But I think that the biggest thing when we get into playing well and being a part of kind of this program and when it's looking at our best, I mean you're going to see us having a lot of fun. You're going to see us dancing on the bench. You're going to see, me and my staff, laughing and kind of and joking around a little bit. You're going to see, our kids comfortable. You're going to see our kids, smiling and enjoying the moment and enjoying each other. I think that is, when we're playing at our best, we're getting into, kind of those areas where we don't have to feel stressed. It's the good stress. So you get to laugh it off. You get to smile. You get to be relaxed while you're stressed.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably what the best thing is.
As you dive into year two, coach, what's your overall vision for Lindsey Wilson?
Yeah. I wish I could tell you that in about 4 months. After we're 100% done with recruiting for the next two classes.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah. Well, I mean, Lindsey Wilson won a national title in 2017. That's the goal, right? I
yeah,
think there's no. Um, I don't think that if you're as a coach and you're not in a position where you think, and you're in a school like Lindsey Wilson that supports both, academically, athletically and financially, they support enough to be able to go out there and compete for a national title. Um, and that's not your goal. I think you have a problem. I think that that's not okay. But and I've got the 2017 national title trophy over there on the other side of the office. But so I guess I have to look at it every day. I my vision though I think is to kind of create the big culture for winning and the culture for being successful, on and off the court. I want us to be super involved in the community. We're already running a bunch of camps and clinics for our local high school, middle school. I'm coaching middle school volleyball out here because they do it in January and February. So it's just kind of even me getting involved in the community. We just refed a big tournament. A bunch of our kids refed a big tournament in Bowling Green, Kentucky, which is about an hour away. And we, want to kind of show that Lindsay's, you know, wants to be involved with everything. And so, just being somewhere, a place where people think about good volleyball. When they hear Lindsay, I want them to think about the volleyball program. I want them to think about how involved we are, whether it be, in our games and in the national spotlight, and then also too within our community. And
mm,
so, that's where we want to go. I think we can be successful, in that. And I want to be able to have our kids that stay here for 4 years. They stay here as long as they need to get their degree. They get their degree, and they come back and be a part of it afterwards. To me, that's a huge thing too. So
for sure, coach. And last thing before we go, if there's an athlete that's on the fence of either committing to Lindsey Wilson or going to Lindsey Wilson for something else, or
yeah.
honestly, if there's an athlete that's never heard of Lindsey Wilson because the NAIA is new to a lot of athletes, what would you say? Why Lindsey Wilson? What took you there? What's keeping you there? And let me
Yeah.
hear about that.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, and this is like my first impression when I came down for my interview. It is absolutely gorgeous down here.
Hmm.
We are tucked away right in the middle of the rolling hills of Kentucky. There's a ton of trees. There's lakes. There's rivers. There's all this a lot of beauty down here just physically. Looking at campus, looking at the area we're in. Columbia is fantastic. It is the perfect size. It is small enough where you don't feel like you're being swept away, but it's big enough where we're not the entire center of attention.
Hmm.
And so I think it's pretty perfect with that. Um, when it comes to Lindsay as a school, we have people in administration that have been here longer than I've been alive. And they love it, and they've left and come back. And because of how special the community of Lindsey Wilson is as a school. When it comes to, academically, we're the second, if not the first best nursing program in the state of Kentucky. We've got an award-winning um, education program. We've got a psychophysiology program that has kids getting into pre-med doctoral classes, dental classes, and physical therapy classes. Grad school and medical school at a faster rate than anybody else in the state of Kentucky. And then when it comes to the volleyball program, we're a lot of fun. I think we like genuine people, and we're very genuine as a staff and as a program and as who we are and who we want to be. And so I think that if you like to compete, you like to be genuine to who you are, and then um, who you are as a person, but then also like with a bunch of people that are all always going to be genuine with you. That's I and then we're gonna win games. I mean, we're gonna go out and do all the hard work to make sure that winning the conference and winning the winning in the national tournament is reality. It's not just a pipe dream. And so yeah, that would be kind of my sales pitch for Lindsey. So
Yeah,
um,
that's a
and
great.
blue looks good. Blue looks good.
Yeah, blue. Yeah, I got blue on too.
As we get
I'd be a different blue, but I'll take it, Coach.
Yeah.
Coach, thanks for joining me today. I do appreciate it. But before we go, where can we find Coach Kreiner on social media? Where can we find Lindsey Wilson on social media?
Yeah, I first want to say, just kind of thank you to what you and your page has done the last couple of years for, um, I was gonna say for kind of making NAI volleyball prevalent on the social media stream. I think that's huge. I've seen more and more people outside of the NAI circle share
Yeah,
stuff that you guys had posted, and so that was huge. Um,
thanks.
uh, the Lindsey Wilson, I was gonna say Lindsey Wilson volleyball. They're on Instagram and Twitter, just as Lindsey Wilson volleyball. It's yeah, Lindsey Wilson Blue Raiders is our is where you can find most of our sports stuff. I'm on Instagram and Twitter is I think Twitter's coach underscore Kreiner, I think, and then our Instagram is at Krein Bro, Krein. So.
Yeah, we'll take it, Coach. Well, everyone that's watching, be sure to follow the Volley Reports on all social media things X, Twitter, Threads, TikTok at the Volley Report. Subscribe to this channel on the Coach's Corner to catch more episodes with coaches. Coach, thank you again for your time and look forward to that spring season and that fall season. Thank you.
Thank you.